your remarks tonight. You've got a pretty monumental task against you on your own.
Yes.
Do you have a game plan? I mean, how do you pull something like this off?
Get the vote out. We've got people making phone calls. We've got people putting signs out. I've gone to every meeting, Tea Party, Republican committee that'll have me. And we just got to get people out to vote.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that you have an advantage? Last time you tried this, in a general election, there was all kinds of people coming out to the polls. You might have got lost in the idea of a major campaign. Do you think that maybe there's some sort of an advantage because the turnout could be really low?
Well, that could work to my advantage, certainly, and I think that's something that has my opponent concerned. I think something I do have working in my favor this time that I didn't last time is, as a third-party candidate, as you well know, people worry about splitting the vote and getting the liberal elected. Well, in the 7th District, which is primarily Republican, people want to vote for a Republican. Well, now they have a choice between a progressive, big government Republican, which is Mr. Cantor, or they have a choice between a constitutional, limited government Republican, and that would be me.
Mm-hmm. And so do you think that maybe is where you're going to have success, is that these places you're going to talk to? This certainly wasn't a big crowd today, but you would assume that all these people know to vote on the 12th.
Yes.
So is your goal to reach the people that you think are definitely going to show up on that day?
Well, if we can get my base out from the last election, I got over 15,000 votes, and so if we can get those people motivated once again, and they're usually the kind of people who are motivated, plus get them to get some friends out. And these, by the way, these committees I've been talking to, the people there have been very receptive. Staunch Republicans, old guard, who, change for them is kind of a scary thing. They've started looking at the record now, and they realize, especially with these recent votes Mr. Cantor's made, which restrict their civil liberties, that something needs to be done. So now, again, because I'm in the Republican Party, they don't have to worry about splitting the vote, and now they can choose between a real Republican or a progressive Republican.
And you even mentioned it today. It seems as though people aren't even awake to the fact that there's a primary. Do you have enough time between now and June 12th?
That's the challenge. You just got to get out there and knock on doors and get people boots on the ground. And we're fortunate that we've got a lot of people helping us. Certainly, I don't have the kind of money that Mr. Cantor has, so it's a lot of it's voluntary. I'm not able to pay a lot of people, but they want to do it because they feel like I do, that we need to get rid of the career politicians, get some real common citizens back up there, and return common sense to Washington. So I don't really have to twist any arms. Once they look at the record and they realize what he's done, they want to get rid of him. So we're counting on that.
Would you be ready for the kind of attention you could get from even scaring somebody like the House Majority Leader in
Actually,
a race like that?
That's a good question, really. It's something I wasn't prepared for last time. I think I'm a little bit better prepared for it this time. I remember 2010 election night. Everybody has their election night party, and all your supporters come in. And I actually had a young lady and her husband, before they left, came up and shook my hand, and they said, "Mr. Bayne, we just want you to know that my 94-year-old great-grandmother hasn't voted in over 30 years, and she made me drive her to the polls today so she could vote for you." Now, when they said that, I just stood there dumbfounded. I didn't know what to say. Thank you doesn't seem like enough. Mm-hmm. So that kind of attention, while rewarding and gratifying, can be a bit overwhelming sometimes. So I think I've learned that some of that's going to happen. I've got to deal with it, and I think I'm better prepared for that this time. So, yeah, I think I'll be okay.
And, sometimes candidates like you that maybe are out of the mainstream, and I don't mean that necessarily in your views, but you're not the traditional candidate in that you don't have a big backing of support financially, you're not in this as a career, that kind of thing. They're doing it more as a symbolic gesture. There's a lot of Tea Party candidates across the country that are doing it maybe symbolically to send a message to these politicians. Is there any of that in it for you?
There was the first time as an independent. This time, and I made it clear to folks, I started getting emails and phone calls after the last election, asking me to come back to the party, challenging the primary. And when I sat down with my campaign manager and my advisors, and we talked about it, I said, look, I'm not doing this again just to be spinning my wheels. If I do this, it's going to be to win. And not just for me, but because we need to win. We need to get rid of the career politicians who have made the mess that we're in. So I'm determined we're going to win this thing. I'm not in this just to send a message or make a point. I'm doing this because I want to win.
Anything else you can think to add?
I just hope people will pay attention to voting records and stop basing their vote based on what they see on TV and how somebody looks in the newspaper. The voting record tells it all, and Mr. Cantor's voting record is one of big government and big spending.